inside Abuja. Abuja. Oh yeah. Abuja. You are welcome to inside Abuja. Abuja. Oh yeah. Abuja. You are welcome, alright, to inside Abuja. Abuja. Oh yeah. Abuja. You are welcome to inside Abuja.
It's good.
Well, my guest today on Dateline Abuja is Dorothy Njemanze. She's an actress and co-founder, president of Dorothy Njemanze Foundation. Did I get the name well?
Njemanze, yes.
Njemanze. You're welcome to Dateline Abuja. It's nice having you.
Thank you for having me on.
So today we're talking about sexual harassment, especially in our higher institutions. You being an activist, I know this is your core area of being an activist and trying to promote or support people who have been victimized in that particular area. What dimensions of sexual harassment can you explain, and you can say where one is sexually harassed?
Okay, well, the work I do is with abuse survivors, right? And so we do a lot around sexual and gender-based violence, and we do a lot around sexual reproductive health rights. And in line with executing those, we find out from the beginning that even from when people, girls are born, there are too many things that make them, seem victimized from the beginning on the basis of gender. And it culminates into when they're in primary school and there's an abuse, she's taught to keep quiet. She's in secondary school and there's another kind of abuse, she's taught to keep quiet. So in primary school, you have the basic abuses of, basic touchy. Secondary school, she starts looking more developed and there's more touching and actual penetration. Sometimes in primary school, we have cases of penetrations of children. And in university, she's supposed to have understood by now that she's an item for pleasure. So everybody expects of her to be readily available, whatever the overtures are. And that explains...
Not everybody, like a pervert, you mean?
Yeah, like majority.
Yeah.
There's this high expectation rate. And so that explains the level of sexual harassment meted out on girls in the higher institution. Now, a big problem, I would say, that is an enabling factor of sexual harassment in higher institutions is that most of these institutions don't have proper standard practice sexual harassment policies in place. So there is no legal framework for people to latch onto. I was in a higher institution recently, and the administrative body of the institution, while addressing us in the presence of the school, said, if a girl comes and says a teacher touched her bum bum, how will we know that whether it's true or false? So if you don't dress well, which teacher will touch your bum bum, or which lecturer will touch your bum bum?
Well, that takes us to our second question, but you just round up, because I was trying to find out the causes of sexual harassment.
Yes, the causes of sexual harassment. There's no cause of sexual harassment.
Is it because of greed in the part of the students, or indecent dressing, like you just mentioned?
The causes of sexual harassment are people not knowing where to draw the lines, and people not being properly brought up to respect boundaries and respect other people as human beings. When you see another person as an object for sexual pleasure, and then there is the other one, the sextortion angle to sexual harassment, where you feel you can prey on everybody possible to get, hoping that they would want to get their marks, so they'll give you whatever it is.
You think the students, the female students, are the one who actually invites the men?
How do they invite them?
Now you being I'm sure you
put out invitations on social media and go and say, hey.
No, you can flirt to the lecturer.
Of course, you can flirt to the lecturer. So
you can invite him to say, hey.
There is no look. You can flirt to the lecturer. As long as you're adults, even when you're a child, if a child flirts with you, if you don't take precautionary measures and ensure you don't engage in sexual activities with the child, you're committing a crime. So it's not negotiable. And then an adult flirts with you. You're going for the relationship or whatever, you bear the full consequences of it. But then there's something called mutual consent. Where there's mutual consent between two adults, it's a different thing. But once there is no mutual consent, what happens is, as long as that will to consent to sexual activity is taken away from somebody, that's sexual harassment.
Good now. Well, we say there's sexual harassment, yeah?
Yes.
And then
it's not only female students that are victims of sexual harassment.
Okay, now we're focusing on female students. A lecturer approaches you, no, you don't want. Then the minute you decide to have a relationship with him, you've consented. Is that sexual harassment?
No, it's not sexual harassment. It is not sexual harassment.
But that happens.
Some lecturers end up getting married to the students, and so to separate sexual harassment from these kind of things, a lot of institutions have come up with different kinds of modifications on what you should do to ensure that it's not seen as sexual harassment, which is a step in the right direction. If you ask me, there are so many relationships between teachers and students of higher institution, lecturers and students, that are consensual, but there are so many that are not consensual. It is wrong to cast a blanket aspiration or aspersion, so to say, because each case should be treated on merit. Each case should be treated individually. So you don't think because this one went this way, this is how the other one should go. No, each case is individual. Each case has its unique features, and so we should not mingle them up with other ones.
Why do you think lecturers are getting away with this? Is it because the students are not coming? The female students now we're focusing on female students are not coming out to say this.
A lot of female students come out to say that, and then what do you hear? Don't you want to graduate? We have series of them who have not been made to graduate. We have so many students who are so scared they can't even go, like they're that deeply traumatized. We have the cabal systems in school. So you hear he's the first law lecturer of our university. He's the first law professor in our school. So we are trying to cover him up. He has been doing this for years and nothing has happened. So I don't want to, go against him and all those kind of things. Those are things we hear. In fact, one of the painful things we heard was there was one of the lecturer that was seen naked, holding a mop online not too long ago. And after engagement, we were sad to find out that the school's position on that was that the student must have drugged the lecturer for him to have been found naked in her house.
Wow. So how did he get to her house?
And unfortunately for them, there have been a series of events where this man had been hounding the girl, and she had been recording all these things. And not just recording, it had been like a teamwork between her and several people. So all the materials that are related to the recordings are not only in possession of one person, they're in possession of several people for her safety. And they use cult related activities, because a lot of lecturers run cult systems.
Well, that's
and they use that to threaten the person, like, you know me, these boys want to pass, and so if you expose me, we're going to send the boys after you. The legal framework.
What do you think the student? When these girls come out to actually report to the student union body or the school authorities, do you think the authorities really listen to them, or even like the student union is supposed to protect the students' right? Do you think they are doing enough to protect the rights of the students? So the biggest failure I would point out is that when somebody reports a sexual violation, the first thing I hear most times is, what were you wearing? OMG. Next thing is, how did you get there? Who took you there? You went there by yourself and you are now saying that you were harassed. If you read well, maybe you will not be harassed. If you are not greedy, maybe you will not be harassed. Forgetting that this person is reporting something. You're trying to distract yourself and every other person from the basic ingredients being reported. Look, it's like saying people get robbed because they don't lock their houses. Even when you lock your house and everything, criminals still break in. Yeah. So sexual predators are criminal-minded people. They plan before they execute whatever it is, and whatever it is, if you don't take whatever was reported for what it was reported, stop assuming it's because she wanted a handbag or it's because she doesn't read. Every female that has a good body, like a hot body, is not
dumb. Yeah,
Not every pretty
sometimes
student.
it's not about the pretty or hot body, all those things. It's not empty upstairs. So it is wrong to assume that she probably got into that because she's not pretty, she's not intelligent, and she wanted marks and everything. For people like me, you will mark my scripts in public with camera.
Okay, what do you think what do you think can be done to prevent this? We know it can't be eradicated, but we expect, like with your campaign, we can find a way to curb it a little bit. What do you think? What measures do you think that the students and even us can do to minimize the sexual harassment in schools?
Very simple. Legal framework. Now, the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act, exists, and is justiciable only in FCT. But even in FCT, where it is justiciable, we have cases of attempted rape reported to certain institutions. There's a particular one that was reported since 18th of September last year. Up till date, another 18th of September is by the corner.
In a school here in Abuja?
Yes, in a school here in Abuja. A tertiary institution here in Abuja. And up till date, 18th of September is next, is by the corner. We've not gotten the response. And then we get things from the school saying, you want to ruin this poor boy's life. After all, there wasn't even...
Where was this case reported? Do you think the students are not being properly informed on where to report these cases? If the school authority is not doing, or the student union are not doing much, do you think they should go elsewhere?
The school authority is complicit when it comes to hiding or protecting predators at the expense of, because the victims are shamed. They're expected to keep quiet about it, and the worst of it is when I hear that they are bringing shame to the institution. So I want to encourage people to ask, do you know the sexual harassment policy of your child's school? The sexual harassment policy is supposed to outline what happens in the event of sexual harassment, because some people want to go legal, some people want it to be reported to the school authority, but they don't want to get up to the courts. Some people do not want to go that far, but at least it should be reported. If it's reported, we would have a dossier of sex offenders. But the schools are deliberately helping to remove evidences from these people. And
you're saying the schools are trying to protect the image of their so-called school and lecturers,
school names and lecturers at the expense of these students. And what happens? They are recycling and abuse cycle. They are recycling abuse cultures within. So until there's legal framework for the other students who have impetus to apply the legal framework to seek justice effectively, we are going to be wasting our time. Remember that the VAP Act exists in Abuja, and this thing happened in FCT. Now imagine what is happening in other states where the VAP Act is not existent. So it's important for us to have laws as the VAP Act fully domesticated in all states. Child Rights Act can also be latched onto, because not everybody in the tertiary institution is up to 18 years old.
Yes, some are 17, 16.
I mean, some are like 15, 14 actually in higher institution. Because they do really really well. But for what it's worth, when all these laws are applicable, are justiciable in all states, then more people can latch onto these things. And then that shaming thing, there should be appropriate punishment for people who shame others when they're seeking justice. A representative of the Ministry of Education at an event on response protocols towards sexual violence, once said that if the case is serious enough, then they report to the police. Look, in primary school, we have culture of silence. In secondary schools, we have culture of silence. In tertiary institutions, we have culture of silence. Every institution, formal or informal, that has people's children must have a sexual harassment policy, non-negotiable. Any institution that doesn't have a sexual harassment policy, please, schools are about to resume. All of them should be shut down. If the federal government does not ensure this, the federal government has failed all students in Nigeria. Okay, good.
Can you quickly, we're running off right now, can you quickly use this opportunity to tell victims out there, wherever, whatever university, even if the VAP doesn't stand yet in their state, where they can actually run to in case the school, they're not getting enough judgment from the school authorities. Use this medium to tell people, yes, because you are creating an awareness, and we attended the campaign yesterday. So this won't be productive if enough people, if a lot of girls out there are actually keeping quiet. Like you said, we know we have a very silent culture because we don't want to be victimized. I was raped or something. Use this medium to tell people to come out and where to go to.
Okay, so for people who are struggling with this thing, if you get in touch with the Dorothy Njemanze Foundation, we have a strong referral base nationwide, and so we can tell what to do that is that is closest for you, most convenient for you, and we will take it up. We don't, we're not quite about it. There's also www.rapeisacrime.org. So you don't need to wait until there's actual penetration. Anything that leads to rape, was supposed to be rape, is rape, should have been rape, is supposed to, all of them.
Yeah.
Go there, get enough information, feel free. There's a strong referral base, but reach out to us, and we would be very kind to link you up with people that are effective.
Yes.
There's no psychosocial support for victims of and sometimes they say it's not a rapist, it's an attempted rapist. But a rapist is a rapist. Yes, you are just lucky not to have been penetrated, but a rapist is a rapist.
Yeah.
And he should be treated as a rapist. The police should stop being lenient with people who and say, okay, they're not doing anything now. Now let me hit you. No, it's wrong. Respect of personal space is important, and then indecent dressing, no.
But do you think indecent dressing actually attracts?
How is it supposed to attract?
But don't you think that maybe
even if I am naked, until I tell you are welcome, consent is the defining factor.
Yeah, but in some schools they have dress codes. And maybe because they're trying to prevent this kind of harassment.
It doesn't prevent harassment. Look.
Now you say you can be fully dressed and be harassed, of course.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
You can be wearing a hijab, that type that is only the eyes that show and everything. And you will be raped. And you will be harassed. There are people who say, under that thing, if I tap it, am I going to feel something? And that is the basis of the harassment. I can't see nothing, but could there be something? And they reach out and help themselves without your consent. That's sexual harassment.
Yeah.
You can sexually harass somebody from what you say. Baby, all these things is sexual harassment. If you're not comfortable with it, you report to school authority. If school authority does not handle it, then it's a problem. Lecturers can sexually harass students. Students can sexually harass students. Students can sexually harass lecturers. And vice versa.
But do you get cases of that?
Of course.
Students are harassing lecturers, come and report.
Of course it happens.
Oh.
Criminals can be males, criminals can be females.
Yeah,
so
true.
Until we stop looking at criminals as mostly males and the rest, we are wasting our times. We should look at how to curb criminality, and that is it. Not negotiable. It's gender, it's tribe, it's race.
Oh, thank you so much. We've done proper campaign. It's a full wrap. Thank you so much for being part of
Thank you for having me on.
Well, I've been talking to an actress and co-founder, president of Dorothy Njemanze Foundation. She is Dorothy Njemanze. We're trying to create an awareness and stop sexual harassment in higher institutions. This is Dateline Abuja. Stay tuned. I'll be right back. Well, everyone can be a victim of sexual harassment and molestation. According to the United Nations statistics, it shows that 98.8% of females suffers sexual harassment of some sort. And on that note, it is clear that girls fall victim more. So it is therefore important that our society creates ways to protect the girl child. And it's also the duty of every girl to play their own part by maintaining a form of decency, in quotes, in everything they do. Do not keep quiet, always voice out and stand out. And that's a wrap for Dateline Abuja. For this week, you can be part of this discussion by sharing your opinions or comments on our Facebook page showing right now on your TV screen, and also subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you so much for being part of Dateline. Please join us same time, same station next week on AIT. I'm Hauwa Momoh. Bye for now.